Humans have always wanted to believe that something inside them never ends. Not because we are selfish, but because we are afraid to disappear. We look at our memories, our love, our thoughts, our feelings, and we say, these cannot simply stop. So we call them the soul, and we give the soul a promise. We promise it eternity, not because we have proof, but because we have hope. The idea of an eternal soul did not begin in science. It began in grief. When people lost those they loved, they wanted to believe those people were still somewhere. When people faced death, they wanted to believe they were more than a body. When people felt small inside a vast universe, they wanted to believe something inside them was infinite. And this desire is deeply human. It is not foolish, it is tender. But tenderness is not the same as truth. The universe has shown us many beautiful things. Stars are born, stars fade, mountains rise, mountains fall, oceans change, life appears, life disappears. Nothing we see in nature stays forever in the same form. Everything transforms. Everything ends in one shape and begins in another, and we are part of that same universe. So why would the soul be different? Why would one part of us escape what everything else must face? We call the soul eternal because we cannot imagine ourselves not being aware. But awareness itself depends on change. It depends on memory. It depends on experience. It depends on a living mind. When the mind ends, awareness ends. Not violently, not cruelly, but quietly. Like a song when the music stops. The song does not suffer. It simply completes. This does not make life smaller. It makes it more precious. If the soul were eternal, moments would lose their weight. Goodbyes would lose their meaning. Love would lose its urgency. Kindness would lose its power. But because we may not last forever, everything we feel matters more. A short flame still gives real light. A brief song can still move the heart. A fragile life can still change the world. The soul may not be eternal, but it is real while it exists, and real does not need forever to be meaningful. We often confuse eternity with value, but value does not come from duration. It comes from depth. A moment of love can matter more than 1,000 years of silence. A single act of kindness can echo longer than any promise of forever. A short life lived honestly can matter more than an endless life lived without awareness. The soul is not eternal because it is not separate from the body. It is the body becoming aware. It is memory becoming emotion. It is thought becoming identity. It is life becoming experience. When life ends, the experience ends, not in fear, not in punishment, but in completion. We fear this because we think ending means loss, but ending can also mean wholeness. A story is not broken because it finishes. It is complete because it finishes. A song is not destroyed because it ends. It is fulfilled because it was heard. A life is not erased because it ends. It is honored because it was lived. If the soul were eternal, it would never truly be a story. It would never truly be a journey. It would never truly be fragile. And fragility is what gives beauty. We love because we can lose. We care because we can hurt. We remember because we can forget. We forgive because time is limited. We grow because nothing stays the same. The soul is not eternal, but it is deeply human. It is shaped by moments, by people, by pain, by joy, by mistakes, by courage. It is not a perfect object. It is a living process. And living processes do not last forever. They change. They end. They make room for new forms. Some people fear that if the soul is not eternal, then life has no purpose. But purpose is not given by eternity. Purpose is created by presence. A teacher does not need forever to change a student. A parent does not need forever to shape a child. A friend does not need forever to heal a heart. A stranger does not need forever to inspire courage. Meaning does not wait for eternity. It lives inside moments. We often want the soul to be eternal because we want justice. We want wrongs to be corrected. We want love to be rewarded. We want suffering to be answered. But justice does not need eternity. It needs action. Love does not need eternity. It needs honesty. Suffering does not need eternity. It needs compassion. If the soul were eternal, we might wait too long to care. We might delay kindness. We might postpone courage. We might excuse cruelty, because we would believe there is always more time. But if the soul is not eternal, time becomes sacred. You do not delay love. You do not delay forgiveness. You do not delay truth. You do not delay kindness. Because now becomes everything. The soul is not eternal, but it is alive, and being alive is already extraordinary. You are a moment in a universe that learned how to feel. You are awareness inside matter. You are memory inside time. You are experience inside change. And that is not small. That is rare. That is beautiful. You do not need eternity to matter. You only need to exist honestly. As this understanding deepens, we begin to see life differently. Not as a test, not as a waiting room, not as preparation for another place, but as the only stage where the soul can truly live. And slowly, gently, without fear, we begin to ask a different question. Not, will my soul last forever? But how will my soul live while it is here? When you begin to ask how your soul will live while it is here, something inside you becomes lighter. You stop trying to protect forever, and you start caring about now. You begin to notice that the soul is not a thing you carry. It is a way you experience. It is how you respond, how you remember, how you love, how you forgive, how you grow. The soul is not a traveler passing through the body. It is the body becoming aware of itself. It is the mind learning how to feel. It is the heart learning how to understand. And all of these things depend on time. They depend on change. They depend on limitation. Without limits, there would be no learning. Without endings, there would be no courage. Without loss, there would be no depth. We often want the soul to be eternal because we want to escape fear. But fear is part of awareness, and awareness is part of being alive. You do not feel fear because you are weak. You feel fear because you care. You do not fear endings because you are selfish. You fear endings because you love, and love is the most human quality of all. If the soul were eternal, love would not feel as powerful. It would not feel urgent. It would not feel fragile. It would not feel precious. Love matters because it can be lost. Words matter because they may be the last. Moments matter because they do not return. The soul is not eternal, but it is capable of eternity inside a moment. A single memory can last a lifetime. A single kindness can change a future. A single truth can reshape a heart. These are not eternal events, but their meaning can feel endless. We confuse emotional eternity with physical eternity, but they are not the same. The universe does not preserve bodies, but it preserves influence. It does not keep forms, but it keeps effects. When you help someone, that help continues. When you teach someone, that teaching continues. When you love someone, that love continues. Not as a soul, but as impact. And impact is the closest thing to eternity that humans truly touch. We are not meant to live forever. We are meant to matter. And matter does not require endless time. It requires honesty, presence, courage, kindness. We often imagine the soul as something that floats away. But perhaps the soul is something that settles. It settles into other people, into memories, into changed decisions, into softened hearts, into strengthened courage, into better choices. And in this way, the soul does not continue as a self. It continues as influence, not as identity, but as effect. This is not loss. This is transformation. We fear the soul ending because we imagine disappearance. But nothing in the universe truly disappears. It only changes form. Stars do not vanish. They become something else. Bodies do not vanish. They return to the universe. Thoughts do not vanish. They become memory. Love does not vanish. It becomes history. The soul does not vanish. It becomes consequence. You do not need your soul to last forever to be meaningful. You only need it to be real while it is here. And real means you feel, you care, you question, you try, you fail, you learn, you forgive, you grow, you leave something kinder behind. That is a complete soul. Not an eternal one, but a fulfilled one. We often ask if the soul survives death, but a deeper question is this. Did the soul truly live before death? Did it love honestly? Did it speak truthfully? Did it care deeply? Did it grow gently? Did it help quietly? Did it forgive bravely? Because these are the things that make a soul rich. Not time, depth. We do not measure a life by how long it lasted. We measure it by how it touched. A short life can be full. A long life can be empty. Eternity does not guarantee meaning. Awareness does. The soul is not eternal, but it is capable of eternity like moments. Moments so deep they feel timeless. Moments so honest they feel infinite. Moments so loving they feel endless. And those moments happen only in life. Not after it. Here. Now. Between people. Between breaths. Between choices. Between courage and fear. Between love and loss. Between understanding and confusion. And in those spaces, the soul becomes fully itself. Not a promise. Not a future. Not a hope. But a presence. As you begin to accept this, something soft replaces fear. You stop needing forever. You start honoring now. You stop chasing eternity. You start living honestly. You stop waiting for another world. You start respecting this one. Because this one is real. This one is fragile. This one is beautiful. And this one is yours. When you finally accept that the soul may not be eternal, you do not become smaller. You become more awake. You stop asking life to promise you forever, and you start asking yourself how deeply you are willing to live. You begin to understand that meaning does not come from endless time. It comes from honest presence. A soul that lasts forever would never feel urgency. It would never feel fragile. It would never feel rare. And rarity is what gives value. A sunset is beautiful because it ends. A voice is precious because it fades. A moment is powerful because it passes. And the soul is meaningful because it is temporary. Not because it is weak, but because it is alive. You realize that eternity is not what makes something sacred. Attention does. Care does. Truth does. Love does. The soul is not eternal, but it is capable of depth. And depth is more important than duration. A shallow forever would still be empty, but a deep moment can feel infinite. This is why a single memory can stay with you your whole life. This is why one act of kindness can reshape your future. This is why one honest conversation can change everything. These moments do not last forever, but their meaning does. And meaning is what humans truly want. Not endless existence, but meaningful existence. You also begin to forgive life for not giving you guarantees, for not giving you certainty, for not giving you another world. Because you see that this world, fragile and incomplete, is already enough. Not because it is perfect, but because it is real. You stop asking the universe to protect your soul forever, and you start protecting the souls around you now. You listen more carefully. You speak more gently. You forgive more easily. You love more honestly. Because you know time is not endless, and love is. Not as a substance, but as an action, a decision, a presence. The soul is not eternal, but love can move across generations. A teacher lives in their student. A parent lives in their child. A friend lives in memory. A kind stranger lives in courage. You do not continue as a soul. You continue as influence. And influence is not weak. It is powerful. It is the only form of immortality that does not require illusion. You do not need your soul to last forever. You only need your life to matter. And it does. Because you are aware. Because you can choose. Because you can care. Because you can change. Because you can try again. Because you can leave something softer behind than you found. When the soul is not eternal, life becomes sacred. Not in promise, but in presence. Not in future, but in now. You stop waiting. You start living. You stop postponing love. You start offering it. You stop postponing courage. You start choosing it. You stop postponing truth. You start speaking it. And in doing so, the soul becomes complete. Not endless, but whole. A story does not need another chapter to be meaningful. It needs to have been honest. A life does not need another world to be valuable. It needs to have been lived with awareness. A soul does not need eternity to matter. It needs depth, and depth is something you can give it. Right now, with how you listen, with how you forgive, with how you try, with how you care, with how you stay human in a fragile world. So if the soul is not eternal, let it be gentle, let it be brave, let it be honest, let it be kind, let it be curious, let it be real. Because a real soul, even for a moment, is more beautiful than an eternal one that never truly lived. And when your time is finished, nothing will be missing, because your soul will not be measured by how long it existed. It will be remembered by how deeply it touched, and that is enough. That has always been enough.